Here. I am from Meza Interactive Entertainment. I'm the co-founder and chief legal officer, and I also double up as a business development lead. And today we'll be talking about gaming. Basically, making gaming work for Kenya. But first, before I get into the whole story and my presentation, let me show you a bit of the games that Kenya is making right now, and then we step right to it. Yeah. So this game is called Kiseki. This is by my studio, Innovate Interactive. It's about celebrating African music and dance culture. The next one is by Content, another studio in Kenya, with the game Hue. It's a Maasai warrior game where other tribes are attacking this Maasai village, and there are poachers, you fight poachers, other tribes, even wild animals. So this is Hue. This game can be found on PC. The first game can be found on, all these games are actually in development. This one will be a PC game, the first one is mobile. This is Vinke Desert Racer. And we are esteemed to have one of the creator of the game here with us and join us during the panel discussion. And it's a racer game within the desert terrains, just like WRC, Savannah, and all that. I think that's okay. So when you think about gaming, if I would ask you, the audience, what do you think about gaming? Most of the people who are in this country, the general sentiment is that gaming is just entertainment. It's something that children do, or it's maybe a form of home entertainment. But gaming has a lot of potential. Actually, globally, in 2024, there was a lot of money that was made out of gaming, and gaming globally generated 200 billion USD. And in Kenya, which didn't even scratch the surface of that figure, we made, actually the money that was generated from Kenya was 46 million USD. When you convert that to Kenyan shillings, that's about 5 billion Kenyan shillings. And we have a lot of gaming studios, we have a lot of developers. Actually, there's a lot of presence of game developers in the country. All of them are actually, majority of them are self-taught game developers, but we also have the like of ADMI, which has helped Africa Digital Media Institute, which has helped, amplify gaming through skill development, business development, and such. So the industry is ripe, there's a lot of money being made, and that's why we are here, because my presentation is about making gaming work for Kenya. So it's about job creation, and it's about also contributing to the economy, the creative economy. There are a lot of, by the way, gaming is a melting pot of very many creative elements, so let me say professions, from programming to design to animation, music, voice acting, and so many more. Marketing, legal, and all that. So next slide. As I said, the Kenyan market generated 46 million USD in 2021. I don't know how much it is right now, but I bet it's very big, because majority of Africans right now, or let me say Kenyans, are playing on different consoles. That's mobile. Mobile is the most popular. You have mobile, you have PC, and you also have console. So this figure is even larger right now, because that's a 2021 figure. And as I said, the growing interest in gaming is exponential. with a 12% annual compounded growth rate. So, yeah, next slide. How is gaming aligning with Kenya's national priorities? Well, first of all, there's a lot of youth employment of, I would say specifically the creative industry, and also the tech industry. We have programmers, we have designers, graphic designers, 2D animators, 3D modelers, and the like. And we also have the supporting functions, not only the creative functions, but the supporting functions like legal, contracts, like distribution contracts, publishing contracts, and also, fundraising, what instruments are you going to use, and things like that. So we have a lot of supporting functions like legal, we have finance, and we also have marketing and HR, because sometimes we have a lot of outsourcing that happens just to develop these games, and there's a lot of cross-border partnerships. This STEM, which is science, technology, what does the E stand for? Science, technology, yes, and mathematics. So, yes, there's the raising of capacity in STEM and digital literacy skills. And this has been able to be manifested through edtech and edutainment and gamification. This is basically where schools are able to adopt digital tools through gamification to make learning more enjoyable and more interactive. And also, it's not only the young children, because most people, like outsiders, might think, okay, edtech is only for young children, maybe teaching numeracy skills or language, but then it's not only about young children. There are elements of even teaching finance. There are games or even board games which have been created that teach people how to manage their money. I think there's a game called Kenyan 50 which teaches you about African history, and that's a form of gamification. So it's not only about young children, but it's general, and even aspects of mental health, which we'll dive into later. So there's also foreign direct investments. The gaming industry has been able to benefit from this a lot through investments from, I would say, the French government through Alliance Française, the German government through the Gold Institute, and even the UK through the British Council. And our studio has been a beneficiary of this investment through grant funding, which we are very happy to have been supported, and a number of studios within Kenya. And then lastly, cultural exports, which basically we are adopting the culture, the identity and values of Africa and depicting them in our games through an interactive and immersive platform. So we are showcasing what it means to be African. We are showcasing our history, we are showcasing our myths, our philosophy to the whole world, because we are digitally connected globally right now. And there's a lot of attention that is on Kenya right now. There's a lot of attention that is on Africa. You can see from our music industry, the likes of Amapiano, Afrobeats, and even movies and whatnot. So our cultural exports are really, and even tourism. So there's a lot of attention that gaming can literally showcase the world, our story, and actually all the stories have been told all over the world, but now it's time for Africa to tell its story. Yeah, next. So how does the gaming industry create jobs? We have game development. So game development, we have the programmers, which is kind of unique. It's not just any general programmer, but we have there's a unique set of skills for programming. We have the designers, we have the UI UX, that's user interface and user experience, and sound production, music production, and storyboard writing and the like. That's the technical and the creative side. We have esports. We have the streamers. We have the pro players. Actually, there are a lot of the Kenya Federation of Esports Professionals, which is an association where it supports esports within the country, and there are a lot of championships which are actually being undertaken in the country. And they also get international sponsors and even local sponsors. So the gaming industry is booming. I would even say the esports industry, yes, we are one industry, but that sector, let me call it a sector, is really booming, and a lot of money is being churned within that ecosystem. And of course, we have event organizers, like Proceedings Gaming, the guys who host these events. We also have Nikon, it's a pop culture event organizer that showcases comics, games, and the like. So we also have the creative economy, the content creators, like I said, the streamers, and also videography and photography. When you're talking about game development, it's I would say 60% game development, but 40% marketing. The marketing is so important because you have to put your game out there, and maybe you want to globalize your game. So you have to have a strategy. You have to have a marketing agency or at least a social media manager to help you, graphic designers, your trainers, and even the screenshots that you put on the Google Play Store, the Apple Store, they really matter. There's certain elements of, just by the screenshots that you have on the Google Play Store, it attracts somebody to your game. So that's the content creation elements. And then we have the supporting functions. We have legal for the contracts and the setting up of the companies. And then we have business development. Business development is actually very important. It stems from, your partnerships. What partnerships are you forming with other studios? Things like co-production or even sourcing out personnel. Sometimes you might not have the money or the experience within your studio. Maybe you're one person. You have to, source out some expertise. So there's outsourcing. You need a business developer. There's also things like fundraising. Business development also helps with that. Sourcing investors that would be interested in this market, because you can't just go for any investor. And the business developer will, they have a sales strategy. They know, where to find these people and whatnot, and how to nurture that relationship and then close the deal. And And then we also have finance. Finance, you have to have your projections, you have to have your templates. There's accounting in there, your financial books. We need a lot of structure in the creative sector, because through the standardization of our systems is where we'll be able to access financing. And of course, now the finance department will be able to help you with your financial projections to show, okay, with this investment, this is how much we're able to make. These are our costs. Yes, this first year will not make money or will go at a loss, but within this period, this is when you're going to make money. So finance is very important. And then, of course, localization. Localization is where you want to permeate other, jurisdictions. Maybe, like, I can give you an example, like Super Strikers. Most of us, we thought Super Strikers was actually a Kenyan comic with Shakes McKenna and Joe and all that, but actually, it wasn't a Kenyan comic, and it was released in 13 countries all over Africa, but its localization was so good that everyone thought that this comic was made in their country, but actually it wasn't. So localization is very important. We have gamified learning. So gamified learning is basically where we leverage games to make learning more interactive and more enjoyable. Because, some children, I myself when I was young, I had a problem, for example, with maths. And it was difficult, I had so much stress, but then when you make mathematics more interactive, then it becomes something enjoyable. And actually, the thing that makes it hard is, yes, you have a challenge, maybe it's multiplication or algebra or something more advanced. But then when you make it interactive with real-world storytelling and real-world immersion, because it's all about the interactive element. How can you apply this in an enjoyable real-life situation? Of course, in high school, you're given a situation, but then when you make it interactive and simple through gamification, the attitude changes, and there's actually data to show that it improves performance. And also, when we just think about gamification, it's not only about the students, it's about the involvement of the parents. Tracking these elements of data, these elements of timetables. The EdTech community right now are really using gamification to teach, to implement it in schools and to also provide a platform for especially children during the COVID period. Gamification really boomed during that period because most children were learning from home, and parents had to hold their children accountable to make sure that they were staying up to date with class content. And gamification, that's when it really boomed. So we have a link shop. This picture is actually from a link shop. I'll think about this. It's an edtech company. They went to 8 counties all over Kenya. No, 3 counties, went to 8 schools and trained 250 maths teachers on how Equation Explorer, it's a board game, and also a digital product, can help them in teaching and also, just help the children learn equations. So they're still in the testing phase, but they learned a lot, and now, they are iterating the product. We also have Usiku Games. I don't have the picture right now, but Usiku Games is one of the leading studios in Kenya. They're based in Diamond Plaza, old building, first floor, and they had a game, and it's called Electric Blue Gecko. You can even find it on the Play Store. And actually, I think 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, it was the #1 game played in Africa on the App Store and on the Play Store. And even right now, if you search it, you'll find it. And this game was about conservation of the electric blue gecko in Tanzania. So there's also elements of conservation, SDG goals, and basically storytelling through gaming. Gaming can be used for a platform for anything. Yeah. So next. Also cultural exploitation. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there are a lot of studios right now in Africa and in Kenya that are using culture as the foundation of, their games. Basically, games inspired by African culture, African identity, values, and our storytelling, our myths. Like I told you, right now it's the time for Africa to show our stories. So when I started my presentation, I showed you Hero, it's by Kunta Content. Actually, this studio are doing really well right now, and they have gotten a lot of funding across these years, let me say for the past 3 years, and they're even crowdfunding right now. So they have a game called Hero. It's about a Maasai warrior who has to protect the Manyatas in his community from poachers and outside, burglars. And it also highlights elements of what we go through in Kenya, like, castle rustling and things like that. So it's a form of storytelling and cultural exploitation to raise awareness of certain issues. So next. We have also Tales of Rwanda. This is basically a game highlighting Rwanda Magere, the Luo myth. So I can just show you a short clip of it over here. It's basically an adventure game. It's also it's in development right now. So I know it looks good, but imagine it would be better. Yeah, so there's a lot of storytelling that can happen within the gaming industry and depiction of our culture. And right now, there's also a lot of collaboration. Not only, gaming is a melting pot of so much collaboration. So there is even elements of licensing, like we're taking stories from books or from producers and then putting them in games. And right now, of course, we are at the infancy of our industry, but it has been done abroad. And that's what we're trying to do right now. So that's our culture as exportation. And gaming, it's digital. So this, you bet it's reaching America, Asia, UAE, Europe, and that's the greatness about gaming, and it's capacity. So I want to narrow it down because this summit is also about aligning innovation to government and what it's trying to do for the country, and to create a sustainable economy for all of us to be able to thrive, for us to earn a living and job creation. So in this slide, I highlighted public service digitization. Through gamified platforms, one can improve civic engagement. Especially last year, there was a lot of civic engagement in terms of enlightening people about their rights. The constitution and bills that were coming up, this can be used as a platform. Gamification can be used as a platform to make people understand laws and processes easier. Right now we have AI, there are some extensions which have been used for you to understand the laws. But even gamification can be used for you to understand the laws easier, because a lot of people, especially young people, sometimes are like, oh, I don't want to get myself mixed with politics and all these things, but it's so relevant. It's so relevant. And through gamification, making it look interactive and immersive and enjoyable to understand and to learn the political landscape, because it affects you. These are some of the avenues which government can use to, even improve its brand. If I asked you guys, what is the personal brand of government right now? You can answer your question. Or even globally, what do people think about government? So gamification can be used as an avenue, a PR avenue for them to establish around. So yeah, we have civic engagement, public sector training. This is through, and I haven't even highlighted training. Training can be used in private sector and in public sector, where, like for example, for the staff during onboarding, you want to onboard them on the processes. Let's say you're in the immigration office or a Huduma center. You make the training much more interactive and much more enjoyable, because people, you show them a couple of videos of, oh, these are our policies, this is our code of conduct, but then people don't want to pay attention to that. They'll watch the video and say, okay, we are compliant, we have watched it, but then through this, and the good thing about this platform of gamification and training, you're able to track people's learnings, you're able to ask them questions, and then also, through evaluation and monitoring, you're able to have data that shows how, these trainings have affected people. And that's something that really the government needs to do to self-assess its processes and its people in terms of doing execution of its mandate, especially with its staff. So yeah, the civic engagement, public sector training, awareness campaigns, like for finance, maybe KRA. Sometimes you get these emails or USD texts about KRA, they're telling you about, paying your taxes. If you have a small business, if you're a sole proprietor, you have your small business. Sometimes you might see KRA as a big brother, the boogeyman, oh, they're just here to take my money. But if you understand this through gamification, basically how your money is going to be used, and it's also a form, like it's a challenge for the government in terms of accountability and in terms of inclusivity and, showing Kenyans how this money is being collected and where it's going. And that's how these campaigns can be run. So there's finance, there's health, the SHA, insurance, and also governance, and aspects of execution by the executive and the CSs and the ministries and all that. So yeah, that's how government can actually leverage this platform of gaming. So next. In order for the gaming industry to thrive, there are a lot of infrastructural issues that have to be addressed. These are the basic ones, but it's also very important for people to understand how they affect the gaming industry. And it's not only the gaming industry, I think it affects everyone in the country. But just highlighting our sector, things like stable power. When we lose power, we cannot be productive. Let's say you're on a call, you have a project, the power goes from 12 p.m. and then it comes at 6 p.m. That's 6 hours of lost time, and then now you're forwarding your projects, you keep on postponing and postponing and postponing. Or maybe you're on a call with a client, and then power just goes. Or you're even on an interview, and then power just goes, and then it messes up things. So stable power, but also in terms of accessibility. When you're talking about rural areas, there's this aspect of gaming only being digital, but as I showed you, gaming can also be like board games. You can make gaming tangible. Gaming is not only about being digital. Innovation is not only about technology. It's about inventing new ways to make things simpler, easier, more efficient, and effective. So power, accessibility in rural areas is very, very important. That's where we can even say that, okay, through initiatives like EdTech, when they want to start introducing like laptops or even phones, you can't talk about phones if you don't have power, or even television sets or whatever, or computers in a school if you don't have power. We can't talk about accessibility without internet going into the rural areas. Is it affordable for people? Because for the gaming industry, it's the consumers and also the developers. The developers, we have to stay online to access resources to build, our products, but also for the consumers, they also need bundles, or they also need Wi-Fi connection to be able to stay online and to enjoy their games. So that's internet access, mobile operators, and payment systems. These mobile operators, I'm talking about the manufacturers of these mobile phones. I can just give you an example, just some inside information. For example, for our studio, with our first game, it's called Mzito, so that an adventure game, and we are lucky to have Samsung have our game with every new phone that was, it happened just for like 2 years, but it was a great 2 years. For every phone that is bought and then you switch on the phone, you're given applications. You see there you're given games to play. So our game was, it appeared over there with all the, the Spider-Man's, Call of Duty or FIFA. So that was actually something that really, really improved our user acquisition in the whole of the African market actually. So mobile operators, that's so important, and also payment systems right now. I can even ask you a question. When you go and download an application on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, I think Apple Store, the demographic there, they're much more comfortable with card, payments. But then for you, will you be so comfortable to give your card details? A lot of people, especially in Kenya, are not comfortable with providing the card details because of scamming, access to data and all these things. And that really creates a very adverse environment so that they can also support us entrepreneurs or even emerging creators, so that we can be able to turn passion to profession. So we need incubators, we need gaming hubs, centralized mainly on our industry, not us being lumped up with the fintechs, agritechs, and everything. Like we need centralization also to recognize us as a money generating economy. Next. So call to action. We have 4 stakeholders over here. First, government and policy makers. They need to work with the industry to craft gaming policies. And this spans, here we even talk about the creative industry, things like tax incentives, importation of resources like the gaming cards for resolution in your computer, or even cameras, because we have 3D motion sensors and things like that. Because right now a lot of people are using 3D to make their games. So all this equipment that is being downloaded, that is being imported into Kenya, we need tax incentives that makes it easier for the normal mwananchi who just wants to build a game to access these things. So tax incentives and also policies. We have the startup bill, we have the creative. There's some initiative right now about the creative economy support bill and things like that. So more conversations with the industry, just getting to know what industry players are actually thinking and to know the situation on the ground. For investors, to support funding and game development, mentorship programs. And one way that they can do this for the gaming industry specifically is by providing us with the key metrics for them to invest in our sector. Because right now, like I said, the Kenyan gaming industry is at its infancy. And then not so many investors, even local investors, it can be your parent, your uncle, your auntie, or anyone who wants to put their money somewhere. They don't have enough data, or they just don't understand how the gaming industry makes money. So they need to at least provide us with the metrics of what they look for. Maybe it's structure. What does structure look like? Do you need our financial books to be in order, our contracts and things like that? And to empower, the things I talked about, the gaming hubs and the incubators. That's how we become aware to now change our passion into something that is more structured and more professional. And then now we have the corporates to partner with local studios to expand the African gaming market. This is a very important point for two reasons. The sponsorship of events, that gives us more legitimacy when a brand like HP or Liquid Telecom or a Safaricom, they come to an event, maybe it's an esports event or a gaming event, and they're showcasing that, okay, we are supporting this initiative and you're giving it legitimacy. So there is sponsorship, and then there's also, like I said, making gaming make sense for Kenya. And the public perception of gaming is B2C. Oh, I just download a game through mobile, or I play a game through my PC or my console. But then there can be also the B2B connection. How can gaming, because gaming is a form of entertainment, and even when you're pitching, you normally pitch it as a unique selling point. I don't know how you pitch, how is like Lion King solving a problem, or Black Panther solving a problem. So it gets very hard for startups or even any developer to pitch the product, because the general sentiment is about problem solution. And how does the market look like? Is there demand? Is there a pain point that people want to really spend their money to have this problem solved? So now, okay, borrowing from that dynamic, because this is Africa, we can't just adopt what is from the US or Europe or Asia. The African market is unique. Actually, the main thing people want is to make money. So how can gamification be used to make money, like in a sales process, or in marketing, and things like that, or in induction, or onboarding and training, and things like that, edtech. So how is it, improving various sectors? Through engagements with these private corporates, the private sector will be able to now plug in and actually, raise money for companies, and then even build our games, but also providing value to the economy, the general economy. And now for the developers, we need to formalize, basically through associations, and just to organize ourselves in ways that we can participate in policy and things like that, where we can have our voices heard, like I told you, tax incentives and things like that, and also just providing data. Data is very important because the African gaming market, right now we have a couple of reports. We have 2 reports, let me say 3 reports that I've read, which are really helping, and we even have the likes of KPMG, who helped, there's a studio called Mario Games from Nigeria. They partnered with KPMG to make the Africa Gaming Report of 2024, or was it 2025? Yeah, yes. So it really legitimizes the industry, because now we can work off data, and data makes us make more informed decisions in terms of the corporates, in terms of the investors, and also in terms of government, for them to say, okay, this is actually an industry that is making a lot of money. Like I said, going back to my first slide, $46 million was made in 2021. By now it's even like 50 million or even above that. And that's like for 5 billion Kenya shillings. So through data, how can we be able to plug in Kenyan studios to actually get that money? Because actually most of that money is made from international studios. It's going to international studios because, of course, they're more mature, their games are much more refined, but also Kenyans, we can make our games refined. I've shown you over here. And these ones are in development. So what can we do? I bet we can do a lot. Yeah. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. My name is James Ahere from Mesa Interactive. That's my information. Over there, my email and my contact information. Yes, I'm a representative of the gaming industry, and thank you for your time.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. We're going into the panel discussion to talk about the power of gaming, more specifically the powering the future of gaming in Kenya. On my panel, we have Roy Kisielo, we have James Ahere. We're going to have Brian the Beast, hopefully he will join us. And I'll just dive right into it. My name is Immaculate, and I'll be taking you through this particular panel discussion. So we're going to touch on a couple of themes. We'll talk about opportunities and socio-economic impact. We'll talk about challenges and barriers. We'll talk about innovation and local content. We'll talk about infrastructure and investment, and we'll talk about skills development and inclusion of future, the vision of gaming in Kenya. I feel, James, you have had a very thorough presentation. So we will more or less be just having chai hapa juu. Because all of the questions you've actually answered in your presentation. Thank you for that. So I think we will begin with opportunities and socio-economic impact, which will mostly touch on job creation at county level via gaming, especially also enhancing digital literacy. I'm just getting the questions very quickly. Unless the panel will also introduce what they do, by the way, which is something that also I shall begin with. Roy, please tell us a bit about what spaces you occupy, or what capacity you occupy in gaming.
Alright, hi guys, my name is Roy Kisielo. I'm a graphic technician by day. I work at the Technical University of Kenya. Then I also moonlight as a game designer, game developer, and artist. So basically I work with Studio Doido and Architect Studios, so I develop games, I do the artwork, I do 2D animation and the like. Yeah, and I'm happy to be here. So James, possibly you will introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is James Ahere. I'm co-founder of Interactive Entertainment, and I am also a lawyer, an advocate for the High Court of Kenya, and also the business development lead of the studio. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. For the opening questions.
And who's Immaculate?
Yes.
There you go. You know me, James. My name is Immaculate Juma. I am the founder of Art Law Kenya that trades as Culture Shift. It is a legal consultancy for creatives. I also work in cultural industry, so I am an advocate by profession. I am an artist by want. I'm also a singer-songwriter and a fine artist. Yes. Nitamalizia CV hapo. So the first question, this was an open panel, so you can just all give your comments. What unique opportunities does Kenya's youthful population and growing digital economy present for the gaming industry, and how can these be leveraged for socio-economic impact? What do we have? What is open for us as gamers, or the people who are in the gaming space?
So, what I can highlight is, for Kenya, there's a very booming population, first of all, of young people right now who are digitally savvy, and they're on the internet and they're connected to the world. So that is a very good, metric to say that the gaming industry is going towards a good direction, because we have a ready market that is digitally savvy. Not all of us have smartphones, but we are in a good place. We have mobile money, and we also have internet connections in at least every household, but not every household, at least in urban areas, we do have that. And at least we are able to buy bundles. Even if you don't have internet connection, you are able to buy bundles. So you're basically able to download a game. So that is a key metric that is proper for the gaming industry. I think Roy can build up on that.
All right. Thanks, James. So one thing I'd like you guys to know is that apart from the market penetration for mobile, is that guys are already collaborating out here. Like we have Usiku Games, I think you mentioned it earlier, like Usiku Games has collaborated with a studio in Senegal called K4 Games, and that's how they made the Electric Blue. And the Electric Blue has over 500k downloads online. And you see how you can also make the money is through, yes, the game could be downloaded free, but through advertising on the game. That's how you make your revenue. So if someone advert runs and then you have the AdSense available on your platform, on your game, that's how you're making your revenue. So that's an opportunity for even the social media content creators. They have an opportunity. So I think the only problem is that there's no information that's been disseminated evenly, because people are also just concentrating within certain areas. So if the message is out there for other people to see, like the way we're doing it right now, then people will see the opportunities are there. And then also, like, you can imagine, like, even Mekan Games made with the president, which is a politically inspired game, and that game made over 10 million downloads.
10 million downloads and even 1 million USD.
1 million USD, you can imagine. So that, you can imagine now that all that they made online, and plus the adverts are still running within the game. So every time you fail within the game, for you to get some coins and to continue with the game forward, you have to watch an ad, watch a video, and through that the guys are making money. And then collaboration opportunities are there. You can imagine even based off the characters, people can do cosplay, you can dress up with those, you can dress up in garb, that's already material, you can buy material for people. So it's just it's a growing market, so everyone has opportunities, yeah.
The green ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a growing ecosystem, that's it, yeah.
Okay, so gaming is also tied a lot to the negative perception of gaming being, it leads to addiction, there's betting involved, there's also the confusion of gaming and, betting being in the same particular space. So in terms of policy, we don't really have anything that is talking about the gaming industry itself away from betting. So how can the narrative around gaming in Kenya shift from that to be one for a tool for empowerment and development?
All right. Based on that, now I think games also cover something about the policy making, and it's important for people to distinguish what all these things mean. Like gaming itself is just an action of playing a game. That's it. Gambling is actually it's a game of it's playing for chance. So that means you're doing it for some incentive, for some winnings. Yeah. So that's the difference already. Then esports in itself is like you're taking it up as a career. Now you're playing games professionally. So there you're looking into making money as a career out of it. So guys are making money and having jobs. Yeah. And then now there's this other one I'm forgetting. But yeah. So how you can distinguish between the addiction thing and the betting and everything is, one, you look at the consumer nature and how people are consuming the games. Now based on that, you highlight success stories on how games have actually changed people's lives. Like, games can be used also for mental health issues. It can help for helping people who cannot pay attention in class, especially people like ADHD and that kind of thing. The people who use visual aids. So if that thing is highlighted and distinguished within the market, people now understand what the difference is. So we have to get the terminology right, and that way now we can have the distinguishable terms. And then also I believe it's important also for the policy makers and also just people in general to also just get out there and understand the titles. I don't know if you have something to add on that.
Yeah, I think I'll handle addiction first. Even in the edtech space, it's an issue through gamification, because now, of course, children play games when they're at home, and then now you're bringing games into the classroom, and most teachers are like, the child will lose, their attention. They just want to play games. So are you bringing this thing that is going to distract them? But then, even through organizations like the Mastercard Foundation, and they even have reports on this, it's basically like Roy has said, focusing on the element of, immersion and interactive learning that adds value. So yes, for anything, like food can be addictive, money can be addictive, but anything can be addictive. But then if you focus on that, it will be maintained and magnified. But if you focus on the things that add value, then that's when we can say, okay, these things add value. There's also a genre of gaming. It's not so prevalent in Africa, but it's so prevalent in Europe. It's called serious gaming. So serious gaming, I think even Roy can expound on it a bit. But it's basically games that highlight societal issues, things like mental health, SDGs, environmental conservancy, and also social issues. And it's not only about the enjoyment entertainment aspect, but also, talking about certain narratives within society, and also skill building, and even training, like I mentioned in my presentation, things like training, onboarding, and things like that. And it's actually really working in those industries, like gamification. They even have universities that research about these things, and they're adopting other technologies like AI and machine learning to be able to provide services to industry, even manufacturing industries, robotics, and things like that. So I think it's just the focus on the value. Yeah. And when you're at home and you're playing a game, I think it's just self-awareness. Of course, yeah, we have all our escapes. Some of us, a hard day's work, and then you go and you play your console or your PC or your mobile game, which is allowed, but I just think elements of self-awareness and also just the economic and social environment is what makes us get into these addictions. So blaming gaming is the wrong thing. Gaming is a side effect. It's a channel. But if we focus on the issues, the societal issues, the social and economic issues, and even matters of mental health, then we'll have much healthier ways, even when you're using these games, to actually use them in a healthier way, and be like, okay, so right now I need to do something else, and then,
But I also have a question based on that. How can you tell it's addiction if someone is really enjoying the game?
Good question. James?
Wow, okay.
What am I just enjoying the game?
Yeah, there's an element of enjoying. Okay, if you look at addiction, what really is an addiction? It's dependency. It's dependency on something beyond your control. So yes, you can enjoy. It's good to enjoy. You might even play a game for 6 hours or a whole day.
4 hours.
But 24 hours, and some people who play 24 hours. But if you are dependent on it, that means that you don't. Most of the time, addiction comes from you're not able to face the world. You're not able to face your reality. So you're escaping. And this can be, drugs, alcohol, anything else, food. Your coping mechanism is to use these channels. So basically, if you're depending on it, and as I said, self-awareness, and you're unable to control it because it's an element of control. If you're able to control yourself, you're like, okay, I've done 6 hours of gaming, let me get out. Then you're good. But if you're not, that's addiction.
That's a good answer. You mentioned social issues being tackled by gaming. I want to focus mostly on the social issues happening in Kenya at present. We have environmental and conservation, we have public health, among the myriad of challenges we have as a country in terms of even just policy, tax, debt, all these things. And you've talked about gaming being a way to convey messages or awareness or even suggest solutions to these particular issues. I think my question is, are there examples that we can see of studios that have created games or have enabled conversations around these topics?
Alright, to answer that, I'll go back, like, for instance, Usiku Games have a game called Tizi. It's called Tizi Games. It helps students pay attention in class, basically, like make you chap in class. So that some people, I told you, there's some visual thinkers, there's some people who need visual aids. So it's a way that it prompts you to be faster in your thinking, and that way you can also, it helps you lean into reading better. Because also myself, I realized after school I started getting bored reading books. So then I had to play games that are more interactive. So I play a game that has a lesson in it, it has some tip of the day, but I'm also playing a game, so I'm learning in the process. Another example is an app called AfyaPap. It's based on diabetes, people with diabetes. So, and right now we have prevalent cases of diabetes in Kenya right now based on lifestyle, that kind of thing. And AfyaPap helps you remember, take your meds, have you checked your blood levels, blood sugar levels, that kind of thing. I know Ethiopia also has a case of it's called Harvest of Hope, because Ethiopia suffers from famine and the like. So they help people understand the weather, how the weather patterns are in the country, how to conserve their seeds, how to preserve them basically. Also, there's also the fact that they also show them, apart from that, sorry, I'm confused. So there's another one based on, still in Ethiopia, based on FGM, where they're helping, and early marriages, where I think it's called Breaking the Cycle. They're trying to help kids and parents understand that you don't necessarily have to grow into an adolescence, then get married immediately. There are other opportunities in the future. So go to school, help your village, educate the people, create opportunities for others. So they're breaking the cycle literally. So yeah, the case examples where they're really helping people. Then there's one that I really like. I know you guys have heard of something called psychosis, where sometimes someone will see things like the wall is shedding blood. They're just seeing weird stuff based on, people, there are a lot of mental cases there. So that game is based, Senua's Sacrifice. It's called Hell-Based Secret by Ninja Theory. This one really helped me understand what games can do. The way James had mentioned about serious games, like they went all the way to mental institutions and saw the way people are coping and had conversations with these people. Like, you look at an individual, the individual is no one. But once you tell you what they experience when they're alone, then you realize that people are really suffering. So Senua's Sacrifice is an adventure where you're fighting demons. But these demons, and then there are times you can't tell between an actual demon or you're actually just fighting an open space. So because the game creates that situation. So you see the character suffering in the game. Like then she has, every time she goes through some kind of event in the game, her hand starts turning black, her left arm. So once the blood goes all the way to the top, up to where the shoulder is, the game ends. So you have to keep yourself from not going through the psychosis, because I think she's looking for her lover who died in a mission. So she's going through the pains because her dad wanted her to marry someone else. So you see that made her suffer. So games can play a very integral part in helping society understand basically some of the things we're going through. Yeah. And then banks, I think they also have a very simple kind of gamification way where they just say, are you happy with the service? So you just tick. That's already a game. You just tick. Like, are you happy? You just tick yes. I mean, there's a smile going all the way to being very sad. That's already a game. So they really help. And these small things, you don't realize you're interacting with them until finally you look at it from the angle of a gaming aspect. Then you realize that this thing has really helped me enjoy the process of banking. Such stuff. Yeah.
So not only is it a public, can be used in public, but also in private, that's what you're saying?
Yes, it can help in a lot of things. Gaming is very key in a lot of things, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a game developer, that is, yeah.
Yes. James, you talked in your presentation again about a lot of opportunities being created because the ecosystem has all these players, not just the developers, there's also lawyers, accountants, there's marketing companies. I'd like to break it down to the county level. What opportunities can gaming give or create at county level? Because we always speak about gaming in the context. Sometimes we think Nairobi is Kenya. So how do we disperse that? How do we go to grassroots?
I think at the county level, of course, is working with the county, understanding the structure of the county, basically the executive structure of the county, from the governor to the commissioners and the MCAs, and as it trickles down. I can give an example, like even in my presentation, there was an example of a Limu shop that had gone to 3 counties, and through partnering with the officials at the county office, they were able to access schools and then be able to, discuss with the teachers, because sometimes EdTech, it normally focuses on the children, but then there's also the element of teachers, because why are you taking away the teacher's job or things like that. So also acclimatizing the teachers about these elements of digitizing the learning in terms of accessibility, and also involving them in the process, because there's this triangle of schoolgoers. There's the teacher, parent, and then the student. You cannot remove the teacher and then say a gadget or a software is going to teach the child. So also that sensitization of digital technology. That's from an educational perspective. There's also the cultural perspective. There's this role, the traditional knowledge and traditional expressions. So there's traditional knowledge like basically like certain medicines or certain plants or even just myths and values and philosophies that can be explored through gaming. But then now, if us as developers we act in separation, we're just adopting these things and putting them in our games and then putting them out to market. But then there are certain communities who actually created this, traditional knowledge, but it's very disconnected. So working with the county, and I'm even taking it as a challenge on myself, working with the county where we're able to acknowledge this community and even having some proceeds go to these communities, where, because it's their traditional knowledge, it's a form of IP, and it should be protected, and those limits, call them royalties, should go back to the owners or the proprietors of this knowledge and these forms of expression. And through that, I think now the county can be also appraised and also empowered, and it's not only just the gaming industry, a certain developer or a certain studio, but also grassroots level, they can also find their way into this economy, and it can make sense for everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, possibly I just say like, one thing I just remembered of what John said is that there's also opportunities, like the way he said, there's a lot of opportunities like also for musicians. Like once people realize that this is a buzzing industry, like imagine like a musician can create a whole soundtrack based off your game and also sell it on the side. So there are always opportunities for people in distinguishable areas. So yeah, it's just that now on county level is that people just don't realize the value of something new. Once something new, I think we talked about this when we were outside there. We were talking about the way I see you doing a small job business. So I want to see how well James is doing or Immaculate is doing in the business. What I'm finding, let him do it first. If he feels that it's not working. But now, once it picks up, then people are like, it's working, so let's all pick it up. And then that's when the government now has eyes on it. The country like, now we need to tax this stuff. So I think it's also important now for the policymakers and also once people engage in like the county on that level, they have to understand that we also need to protect ourselves. Because imagine now you're taxing like a business that's not even started. Because you've just seen people out there, so now you're thinking, there's money in it. So people also have to learn to protect themselves as much as just they want to introduce it to the people. Then from there we can pick it up with the county and all that. Because there's a lot of opportunities. Yeah.
Maybe I can just touch on the aspect of music, and I'll say music and dance because our studio is actually making a musical dance game. So it's very important for us to actually involve people at the grassroots level, and that's what we are also doing with dance choreographers. We put them in front of a flat surface like this, and they dance and we capture them through motion capture resources and things like that. So we're going for just the normal TikToker, or you've even seen these videos of these Ugandans, these small children doing funny antics and then dancing and things like that. And that is how we empower them. Because I remember even this one group in Uganda, they became so famous that DJ Khaled, the American producer, put them in a music video. So now, if you go to grassroots levels and we actually, empower them, like for us in our studio, it's basically through gaming, they're able to access more markets because gaming is digital. So you're on Google Play Store, Apple Store, and then other people in other countries can see you. And you can even say, okay, this dance was created by this person. Or even a music artist. And we tell them, you're so talented, let's record a song. Or we adopt one of their songs, and then, it goes beyond Kenya. And other people can even enjoy our music. And even further than that, because this thing, it kind of pisses me off. It's like, this is about dance. I'm also a dancer. So people think that Kenyans can't dance. So they focus on amapiano dances and all these challenges and all that. But if you look at urban tone right now, our dancing has become, our choreography has become very refined. And literally, through proper marketing and distribution, we can be able to showcase our dance moves to the world. And I've seen videos of people doing Angukanayo, so like that is also an opportunity. I don't know, maybe Immaculate can talk about the IP part of dances and maybe digitizing this dance. Yeah.
Or before that, I just wanted to ask also, since you're also doing IP, based on what you said, there's something I think in IP called traditional and cultural protection or something. Suppose you could also look that inside the other to can understand it better.
So we also have legislation around our cultural goods. So our stories, our songs, our things that are so innately culture, you can't even say it's one person, it's for our community, it's for our culture. So now the question is, when you're talking about even exploitation or exploitation, how do we ensure that when the community is credited appropriately, but also that they are also the first beneficiary of this particular exploration and exploitation? Because as it is right now, the government and county government are supposed to be the custodians of these cultural goods and have something called a repository, like a register, where now, come a developer, I have to go to this county to get this particular rights to this story. But is it being implemented? Not really. We haven't gotten into a place where these laws have become, we have regulations to effect the law. It is a good piece of paper, but we haven't figured out the systems and places in which to do that. Yeah, which also causes a challenge.
So they're not willing on what's going on?
It's always a thing of funding. It's always a thing of funding for government offices, because most funding, according to it depends on the admin of the day. If this administration has the 6 pillars, which are health, infrastructure, and things like that, that's where most of the public funding will go to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a manifesto that matters.
Yes. In a nutshell. We talked about county and exploiting this particular partnerships at county level. We also can't deny the fact that there's a lot of, with county there's community. So in a county there's a community that is predominantly there. As developers, how do you ensure that also, just like I said, the county are the first to benefit, but also you don't compromise the integrity of their stories, because it's a lot of storytelling as well. I'll give the example of the issue of wrestling and Lewa and the Conservancy. So on one side there's the wrestlers who have the theme of, we are nomads and that's what we do. On the other side there's the Conservancy saying, we can't allow these guys to come into our land to graze their cattle because they're coming in with guns. So how do we not compromise also the integrity at that level, as people who are now coming up with the stories or giving the stories a platform to be had?
So first off, may I say first, if there are communities that you're involved in your game, let's say that you're involved maybe the Rascals or the Messiah, I'll have to make sure I have someone from that community within my research group. And that's what I base my information off. Or unless I want to pivot and make the story now different, maybe based on of a warrior from the past, then I need. Okay, let me give an example. Like I know Avanduvosi. Avanduvosi did something called Wanamagere, which is based off Rwanda Magere. I think you're all aware of Rwanda Magere. So ideally, what they did, they realized that Rwanda Magere's story has been told from many different aspects. So now they say, like, what happens now to the descendants of Rwanda Magere right now? Now we're in the future, we're in the 21st century. So 21st century, how do they look like? They still have the powers, but now it has disseminated within now his great-great-granddaughters. And like the girl has another superpower that evolved throughout the years. So without disambiguate or making the story dysfunctional, without people realizing who Rwanda Magere is, they stick to the narrative from the people who have the story first, and then have to say, since we have this with respect to the elders, now we want to adapt this into a story and create a different angle, so that the kids are aware of Rwanda Magere right now. So, because I think also Marvel and DC have propel those kind of narratives where we have superheroes in that kind of aspect. Another thing I'll say, like, you always have to give credit where credit is due. You can't just take someone's story and then use it. As much as yes, it's a capital business, you say business is never personal, it's just all business. Sometimes it comes with a moral code, like how yourself will also function. So as much you pay the credits, within the game you get the credits and say thank you to so and so for this and this and that. And then within it also they have their cut. So that way they also feel acknowledged. So they have also created an opportunity, which was I think one of the first questions. Yeah? So yeah, that's how you acknowledge the community.
I like what Roy has said about research and having somebody in a team. I think that's the easiest way to have accountability and preserve the integrity of any borrowed sense of traditional knowledge or expression. To have somebody within your team, or at least jitume, take yourself to these spaces and actually learn from them, so that you don't spoil the integrity and then you have your game out there and then we as the consumers are seeing it and we're like, this person has lied about us, they're making us look. I don't know how they're making us look. So at least having that accountability, because we're putting Kenya on the map, we're putting our communities on the map, so let's respect ourselves. So yeah, and then there's this thing, even best practice in the NGO space. When an NGO is doing an initiative in the community, in terms of accountability, there's of course to government and of course to your sponsors, but then now there's this element of the beneficiaries. So one way to implement accountability is through involving them in the decision making. The decision making, monitoring and evaluation, and then even sometimes they can be able to link you up with experts in these kind of conversations. And then also now impact assessments. So, and that's after even the game or whatever content is out there. How has it impacted this community? So now you're getting feedback, like you're literally holding yourself accountable from the beginning to the end. So it's not only about the creation of the story or the incorporation of the story, but then even at the end you're saying, okay, what is the impact? And you're taking it back to them and asking them. So it is a pinch, but then I think it's the right thing to do, and I think Kenya just needs to do the right thing. And any creator,
Also, one thing you have to realize is that everything has to go through testers. I think that's why there's quality assurance. And testers really help you understand what you're doing, you're going in the right direction or the wrong direction. So testers also help you do the analytics. And that way you can understand how people will be receptive to it. That's why you have things like apps or games being in beta mode or in demo mode. That way, once you pick up the responses, then you realize hey, maybe these people are not really happy, this demographic is not happy about this kind of game. You've even seen movies get banned in China, in Middle East, based on some of the aspects they're showing. So such things you have to do, what do you call it, I think they call it the mother's test. Before a mother gives something to a kid, she has to hear her friend has recommended, hey, I give this to my kid and have you tried it? This is that kind of thing. So everything has to go through that procedure. That's why you always need testers. Yeah.
Let's shift a little bit to esports. What role can esports play in positioning Kenya as a competitive player in the global gaming market, and what socio-economic benefits might this bring?
Well, all right. For esports, I'll be honest. I've not delved into that professionally. But watching from the space, I've seen there's this group. I think it's called the Kenyan esports. I forget the full term, the full name, the full title. But I know they went to the group. I think it's Liquid Telecom, which took them to UK to compete professionally. And I see that created an opportunity because guys who had never gone to the UK got an opportunity to represent and fly Kenya's flag. And then esports is based on they create arenas, so that you can imagine now you have to buy land, you can create an arena where guys are playing games. let's just start even like in Kenya right now we have gaming hubs, gaming centers, very small. So that already like there's a lot of prevalent cases of where people are dependent on drugs. Now you can deviate your mind kidogo and move into gaming, into like FIFA and the like. And then from there, that's why people also poached, sometimes can be poached by teams. And because guys even wear jerseys all the way, so that's this productivity, enabling guys to have, be productive, like even creating jerseys and the like. And then also the dependency on drugs and drinking can be shifted. So the mind is shifted from there into gaming, you know. And as gaming now, you can have conversations like, I remember one time, I'll say a name, but there's someone who I knew was quitting school, and the way we had a conversation with him was based on, we just were playing FIFA, and we just having a discussion, why quitting school, this thing. So as we're playing the game, we're just having a conversation, like, you know, I've been there, that kind of thing. And as we're playing the game, he's beating me, so I'm easing him off the game, but we're having a conversation on why he's quitting school. So through that, he's like, hey, you know what, I'll do school again. But me, I'm letting him beat me, but we're having the conversation. So that's esports for you. So we're having the conversation, and then the guy's seen an opportunity. And right now he's doing some other things, you know. So there are a lot of opportunities, like, what do you call this guys? Real estate agents can sell their land and create platforms where people can play games. And then if you're a curious individual, you can also ask yourself, there's a business for the consoles. How can I create a console for myself? A console is like the PlayStation, the Xbox, you know, like even a PC is also, it's a platform where you can play at mobile. And I think James also touched on the fact that we also need cheaper phones. So you can imagine how you can create a phone that is more simplified for just people to play games and just make a simple phone call and maybe a person. So through that avenue, someone can be an engineer and create that kind of opportunity. So there are a lot of opportunities. It's just that now, I think you also said like the policymakers of the day or the government of the day also has to be aware of this kind of thing. Because if money incentives driven towards that goal, people understand the opportunities. I've seen people buy vehicles from esports. I've seen people get opportunities from Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings, yeah? So now you can imagine this individual has gotten wings. So now they're understanding what Red Bull can do for them. Now they're having merchandising. They're having more opportunities. Because through Red Bull now, another company will also notice you that, like, you know what, apart from Red Bull, you can also do this for us. You know, there's public awareness, like, through gaming now we can advertise our product. You know, so there are a lot of opportunities coming through these avenues. Yeah? I'm going to just
Yeah, what I can say about esports, and I wish this was here to just confirm, because he's a specialist in it. But there's a lot of opportunity let me first start with the skills. So the general sentiment about playing games is just, okay, this is just enjoyment, entertainment. So it's an outlet to just enjoy yourself or to unwind. But then, when you're actually playing games, and in the first world countries, like in America or in Europe or even in Asia, and even in UAE, which is really advanced in terms of esports, they have taken up data to understand how, let's say you're even playing Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a first-person shooting game. So you might look at it and you're like, okay, this game is violent, people are killing each other and things like that. But then there's an element of even team dynamics when you're playing multiplayer online and you're, navigating with your team, like, oh, you guys go do that, hide there, and you're making strategy. Actually, that's a leadership quality of how to make strategy. Or even elements like, let's say you're playing FIFA or you're playing a fighting game, and yes, you might think, oh, this person is just playing FIFA or a fighting game, but there's a psychological element. And that's actually what has made esports really stand out, in addition to, okay, the big sponsorships and people winning money, is through the psychological aspect. The psychological aspect, you're able to identify, like, okay, fast twitch muscles, or mind muscle connection and how somebody moves really fast. You're playing a fighting game, and maybe somebody's beating you, but you don't understand. But their mind works, it's really fast, and even through that you're able to tell, okay, now this person the mind-muscle connection is really fast, or even how fast they think, it's very unique. Maybe they have a high IQ. So now that is now taken up, I think in Atlanta, there's this studio called, it's just set up based this year, Baba Games. The founder is called Andrew. He used to live in Atlanta. And they're really taking up using data on psychology to actually transfer soft skills and also technical skills by understanding the psychology of what's actually happening when people are playing games. Even things like drones. How do you think drones came about? It was actually by people who were playing these simulators. These simulators of flying planes and things like that. And actually flying those drones, the first guys were actually, gamers. Even the internet came off through video games. The first creators were creating interactive media, and even AI. AI came through the engines that we use, Unreal Engine and Unity Engine.
CryEngine.
Yeah. So all of them, it's just through gaming, and then all these things were able to come up. So it's not only about, and also the sponsorship, because it's not a bad thing. The sponsorship by corporates, brand visibility, and then people are able to win money, and maybe you might not have all the skills, maybe you didn't get the opportunity to be educated, but then you're good in gaming. And a lot of people are making a lot of revenue. Like our best success story is Beast. Beast, I don't know, he's traveled all over the world. He knows the sheikhs, he knows the UAE sheikh's sons. They shake his hand like he's the homie. So like he has, and even Queen Arrow through Red Bull.
Yes.
So they have been able to access opportunities. So now, if you're able to actually reveal all these opportunities in Kenya, and not just show gaming is just something for delinquents or closing yourself in your room and just playing games, but it actually can be a sport, a profession, and also the elements of soft skills and technical skills that are actually being showcased through competitive gaming, then we can, through proper research, we can actually create some opportunities.
Okay, so you said, we talked about perspective being one of the challenges, and I'd like just to lead into that conversation. Challenges being things also like infrastructure, funding, skills gap. Are there any challenges that we haven't maybe touched in your presentation or on this platform? And what are the possible solutions? And also, is there anything to be said about Nigeria and South Africa? Are they getting it right? Can we borrow from them? Are there lessons to be learned?
Alright. There are a lot of lessons, especially the two countries you mentioned. I think I also mentioned to you earlier, right now we're doing something called a game jam. A game jam is like a hackathon, whereby you're meant to create a game, you're given a topic, and then you're supposed to create it within a given period of time, maybe 48 hours, 24 hours, depending on how fast your team is. So what we have done, we've banded together with guys from Nigeria, Namibia, Lesotho, I believe, Malawi, and we are coming together, we're doing meetings on a daily, like 15 minutes long daily scrums, and we're rallying behind each other's prowess. Then at that way, we're also able to build a game. And here, of course, there's incentive. Like here, we start to win close to 500 USD. So just imagine you're creating something, you're creating an opportunity. Now, how we can learn from this is one, Nigerians tend to rally behind each other. I realize that being in their groups, you find that these guys, they call each other out when you're slacking around, guys call you out and say, no, we're trying to build a community here, we need to tell our stories better, we don't need Hollywood or Europe to tell the stories for us, so we need to tell it better, because what do they say about the hunter and the lion, if the lion could, and I forget how the saying goes, but I'll just try and rephrase it. But if the lion could tell his story, then the hunter possibly will have nothing to talk about. Having cultural weeks, exhibition weeks, what do you call this, career day, that kind of thing. Guys go on and take up a booth. I want this kind of thing where you have it over at Kenya. Guys come and showcase the games there, people are able to test that kind of thing. Yes, I believe there's a lot we can take from them. I'm I've answered there's something I think I've missed possibly.
Lessons we can learn, but also the possible solutions to challenges in terms of infrastructure, funding, skills gap. You mentioned community building and accountability as being part of those solutions.
Okay, the other thing I also say about investing is that I think James also mentioned it. Investors are also very cautious when it comes to giving their money. Like whenever you don't want your money to, when you take a water, you don't want your money to go down the drain. So what you want to do, once you invest in something, you want money coming back, right? So whenever you're giving a product or an individual, like I've come to you, I've come to James, I've come to Market, I've said like, I have a game, I need to do this and this. They have to see the benefit in partnering with me. Right? So sometimes how you do it is you have to take you have to come down and say like, I'll give you like, I know some publishers go all the way and tell you like for a year or two, I'll be taking 65% of your game, you'll be taking 35%. You see, that is after the fact that you've paid all your people there now, the profit, they take 65, they take 35. As long as they've given you like maybe, they've given you like 2,000 USD for the game. So once the game makes its sales, they take that kind of initiative. And then after 2 years, the game is fully yours 100%. But this is all on paper. But now you see some people just say, you know what, this game is mine, it's mine, I don't want to share it with anyone. Because the idea is mine. But you see, you don't have the money. So you have to accept where you are as you're coming up, so that from there, this guy can give you the incentive to move on. And then from there, you can also make your money from the merchandising, you can make the money from the cosplay, then you can do, what do you call this thing, what do you call them? Like the way Angry Birds went from a game and then they created a movie. What do you call that? Like a pivot.
Derivative works.
Derivative works, yeah. So you can imagine like you move from making a game, now you go into making a movie. So now you return all the revenue from now the sales from the Angry Bird, then you have the dolls for the kids, maybe the kid likes blue, the kid likes red, because those are the characters in the game. So now they like red, I forget the other characters, but now maybe they like red. The pigs, yeah. People like the pigs. The pigs are always silly. They make funny faces, that kind of stuff. You can create stickers. There's a lot of stuff you can create and you can pivot. The only challenge is that people, I'm sorry to say, but we tend to be in our own cocoons, and it's not helping because when like you create it on your own, so when you suffer alone. You suffer because you didn't call me when you're doing this and that. So now, imagine now you've stolen someone's music online, and maybe there's someone who was making music, or maybe you've stolen someone's music, like Angukana, maybe you've put it on there. So later, the guys, what are they called? I forgot the name, but the band who did the song, but that is. So you can imagine the band who did the song, now they're suing you of your music. Instead of you coming to them and saying, I have an opportunity, your music can be a soundtrack on my game, so from there you can create more revenue. Yeah, so we have to bundle behind each other, that kind of stuff.
James, could you also speak to infrastructure and possible solutions? He's spoken about funding, maybe you can also add something, and also the skills gap. You mentioned in your presentation that you might have a whole course, but just please expound on that.
Yeah. In terms of infrastructure, I would say the gaming hubs and the incubators. So incubator, basically, it's like an incubator there. The womb. It creates a sustainable environment for you to grow. So we need more of that. In Kenya, I think we only have one. And even that one company that creates incubation platforms, it's just for a certain season. Maybe 3 months, 6 months. And then we wait for the next year. And now that's 3 months, 6 months. Right now, in 2016, when we got into the gaming industry, I don't know, we were accountable. I remember I met you in 2017. We were accountable. We could all be in a room and we were like 15. Even less, maybe under 10. But now, there's so many people who are self-taught. And now, there's so many people self-taught, but then now, if you come into this incubation, let's say and it's normally competitive. And then you apply, but then they take the top 10. What about the rest of the 70 people who applied? They are left alone. And that's actually the biggest challenge about investment in the creative sector is, okay, yes, we get it from the investor side, they want structure, they want scale, they want to see traction, they want to see all that. But now for these emerging sectors like gaming, we're still figuring it out. We are at our infancy. So if you put these high standards, yes, they're good high standards, yes, on our part we need to professionalize ourselves and to structure ourselves well, but then you're knocking out so many people, and like in Kenya we only have one platform which happens in a certain season, 3 months and it's done, and then now we are just out here, we start getting the names of struggling artists, or struggling developers, so we need more visibility. I think the marketing side and also platforms like this for people to know actually what gaming is all about. The nitty-gritty is the data and everything. So yeah, that's infrastructure. We need more hubs. And for especially I call us creative and technology, because it's not only gaming. There's animation, there's sound, augmented reality, all those things. We are not. There's no focus on us, and we are lumped in with all the other technology sectors, agri-tech, fintech, logistic tech, whichever tech. And then there's so much resources going there, especially now fintech, agri-tech, and agri-tech. But now the creative tech, we're not receiving resources. And yet, big numbers, we're talking about big numbers from World Bank. World Bank is showcasing big numbers we made, even as our reports are saying, gaming has all these numbers, been generated in Africa, Kenya, or even globally. But then no one is really paying attention in terms of capacity building. So we need hubs, we need incubators that are focused on us, and then also, like he talked about, kuvutana, working together. Unfortunately, we as some Kenyans, we have not done it so well. And we need to do it more, because we have the example of the Pan-Africa Gaming Group, which is basically a coalition of African studios, but then also they're the top tier studios. And these guys are like, they've been in the industry when I was in primary. so they have so much experience in entrepreneurship that we can't even get to. So what about all of us? But okay, we have to start from somewhere. So now, at least having a bit of structure, being supported by lawyers or even finance professionals, so we can have all our structure in place, so that even when we're getting into like joint venture agreements, and then now we want to co-produce something, so we can now even get to that status of, we call it AAA games or AA games. These are those top tier games like the FIFAs, the God of Wars, and all these top tier games. That's how we just put our egos aside, because in Kenya kila mtu anajitakia, but we put our egos aside and we work together and we structure it really well. Our contracts are good and there's visibility and there's accountability, and then we can work together. That's how we can be able now to even access, because we've had, even for our studio, the Africa Development Bank, it had reached out to us, I think 5 years ago, and they told us, because then they're used to investing in impact investing, so construction, things like the environment and things like that. But then they were like, okay, we've been reading these reports, it's a South African bank, we've been reading these reports about the creative economy, the entertainment sector in Kenya, it looks good, so tell us, as we normally invest about $1 million USD going up. And then we're like, now us as a studio, the thing about it sounds good. We're like, okay, and that's 130 million. Hey man, cash man, we can retire. But Gary, whatever, all those dreams, we are sorted. But then there's that accountability of, by the this is the thing, pesa lazima irudi. Yes. And for them, it's like, for VCs or even investment banks, it's like 10x. So for us, it's when you convert $1 million USD, it's like 130 million. Sindio? And then now when we say 10x, imagine it figures like 10 billion. Who knows admission 10 billion? You cannot. So there's that awareness of how do I create structures, who do I need to partner with, how can I build my capacity to be able to absorb money and create a strategy, go-to-market strategy, marketing strategy, financial strategy that will be able, partnership strategy, all those things that will be able to bring back this money.
So you're saying structure. To secure two, we're saying we want money, but we also want to get the money when the money is also paid to us.
Yeah, I like what you said, especially you're putting the ego aside. And then there's one thing I forgot to mention about, you see also journalists play a very big role, bloggers. The way you engage with them also really matters, yeah? You can use these guys as people who do tech reviews, that kind of stuff. There are always sections within the newspaper where they feature people. So how you communicate through those people is also very important. So you also have to learn to communicate better. And then YouTube is a very big resource. Vimeo, I think you guys know Vimeo is like YouTube, it's another resource. People do something called a devlog. Devlogs help someone track your progress. So like you say devlog day one and I ran into this. That's why games go through tests, what do you call it, when you make or break kind of situation. So someone sees your journey throughout it. So there's evidence. So when you go to an investor, someone can see this guy actually started in January of 2023, and now 2 years down the line with no money, he's still making this game, and he's gotten this far. What can he do now with the 1 million James was talking about? You know. So the way I watch Nigeria and South Africa are working, guys are doing that kind of thing. And develop, like the way the movies have the behind the scenes. It's important for people to see the process. Yeah. I think they also say like if you go see how a sausage is made, we will take cool as well. Yeah. But now, basically what it means is that if you see the process, sometimes you won't look down upon the job as it is. Yeah. Even the way doctors train. They'll tell you the kind of things they see. I'd rather not be a doctor, I'd rather just do something safer. Tunga ngombe, basic stuff. Yeah? Okay, it's not basic, but you understand. So, if we emulate such structures, the agents will also really insist on structures, like the way we also train ourselves to be a bit disciplined. I know it's hard, like there are a lot of distraction, so there's also like digital well-being software you can use to ward off like social media and focus on your project. The way you train yourself, also your discipline. Yeah, because I really studied, okay, not studied, but I've been watching Nigerians and South Africans, the way they want to do. Like, right now, even in Kenya, they even look at the dance, okay, but dancing on a piano. And yet, man, I can't relate to it. You know, now people, you have to dance. The kids are like, if you don't dance on a piano, you're not cool. Sure. So now we have to create that urge. There's that form of the fear of missing out, yeah? So if we get that ad within the community, people will want to be associated with that. I think we also have that discussion of the way CEOs tend to come into a company, a very big company, you don't want to associate with the community so people cannot relate to it. If the product is not relatable, people won't want a piece of it. That's it.
Yeah. Before I go to the next question, James, you want to swallow. So you said this bank had a product that began at this particular amount of money for funding, they were interested in you. Was there a point at which you thought, let me negotiate? Maybe we don't want a 30 million right now, we're ready for maybe 50 million or 50 million. And maybe when we unlock certain milestones, you can give us the 130. Was that part of the negotiation that you could get into?
Them for that bank, I don't know if I even quoted that bank nicely, but for them they invest in very big projects in Africa. Yeah. Very, very big projects, and we are even telling them, hey, at least even, like we can even start with 50,000 or 100,000 or even 200. Yeah. You know, it would be good and it can help us with the product. And then they're like, hey, because it's investment banking and they want big returns. Yeah. So, and that's another thing. We were even trying to school them. They're like, hey, this industry right now, it's not where you think it's at. And that was like 5 years ago. It's not where you think it is at, and we're still learning. So we'd rather have it milestone based. But then they gave us the opportunity to have a consortium. They told us to organize ourselves into and we did it with Doug. Yeah, Doug. We actually called. He had his own company. He's also in the gaming industry. So basically, he wanted to be our publisher with his company. And he got 10 other studios to work together, or basically brought us together so we can access this funding. So like it would be like, oh, this studio takes 100k, 10 times 100,000, you know. But then also just going to.
But was the bank aware that you were?
No, they were aware. But even in terms of that, like some of us were at different levels. Some had games out there, we were at different levels. Some of us were junior, some of us were senior. So all those issues, it looks good on paper, like, I've got 10 studios, let's do this. But then that's that element of structure and standardization. How can we pull each other up so we can be at the same level? And I even remember Doug had to link us up with, it's a due diligence company. So they send us an investment memo, and then, we're supposed to have, certain checks, our contracts, our finances, our what governance structure, things like that. You're like, hey, it's just me and my co-founder. What are you talking about governance? So things like that. And it was a reality check, and he really tried, but then it fell off. So now, those were now the big issues the lessons that we had to learn, and then now we are like, okay, now we are much more better. Sometimes you just have to say, okay, hapa ni kubaya, maybe next time. But as Roy has said, keeping them on the loop, because things like crowdfunding, it's about keeping people in the know about what you're doing. Any one of you can do it, whatever you're doing, not only gaming, or even a tech product. Even if you're a music artist or whatever, how do you keep people in the loop? Because they're giving you free money. But sometimes that money is not so free.
It's never free.
It's never free. So, yeah.
Okay. Another time we talked about your skills and capacity development. This is going to training programs. How can training programs and gaming academies be designed to equip Kenyan youth with marketable skills in game design, coding, and esports management?
Alright. There's so many examples. I had James mention something about ADO. It's called African Digital Media Institute, right? Yeah. They partnered with, I think, a university in France called Robica, and they have incubators where they're helping students learn about game development. And then the program is also an exchange where students are also taken to France and learn what the guys are doing in France. Of course, the equipment is way better than ours, but at least once you're out there, the way they say it's Kiswahili kutembea kwingi ndio kuona. Of course, so when you come back, your mind is open to opportunities, to the possibilities. Now, another way you can do it is, I'm thinking, I know Technical University of Kenya, where I work, also has programs. It's called Interactive Media Design, and we also train there in game development. And one of the other ways we go about it is there's things called game jams. Game jams like a hackathon. I've given talks at Crawford University International School. I think that's around Konza. Is it at the city? Okay, but somewhere around Kikaran. But it's been a while, so we go there, we talk to students, we consult on their games, we make presentations to their students. And game jams do wonders, because you find that people who are really shy, but they have crazy ideas. Like the person just like, they call you and say, what do you think about this? So like, hey, boss, you tell your group, like, no, you don't tell them. But you see, now the guy is learning public speaking, so he has to do so you insist that this guy has to talk. He's the one who has to do he or her, they have to do the presentation. So once they're in front there, they learn even another skill, a new skill in public speaking, that kind of thing. But game jams do help. Hubs, as James was mentioning, hubs really do help. The only problem is who's going to create the hubs. Yeah, and then like I know you guys have heard of Koflani Moma, right? The rappers. What they did once they got their funding, like from Denmark and stuff, what they did, they also enabled the youth in the ghetto through a library. So sometimes, yes, the government sometimes yes can play a big role, but sometimes if it's not there, what can you do as a community? You have to rally behind this money. So like, instead of buying this vehicle that I really want, because you might talk about them, why not just open a library you want to open? What you done in a song? No. So the certain thing is just just take an extra step. I know it's hard, but you just have to go here extra mile to do just a small space where people can borrow equipment from you, or maybe even like there also I think I had us discuss about laptops being cheaper, the devices being cheaper, even the way we importing stuff. And then we ourselves also we have to repurpose some of these refurbished machines. The e-waste is really like the way you use this machine, someone else can also take it apart and use it for other stuff. Maybe make a computer. So it's also important for people to learn to repurpose and recycle stuff. So that way these machines don't go to waste, and that way also the skill building is there. So universities, I'd say that's one. Hubs really help. The way people come up as a community. I remember we used to have, that's how I met you, that's how we used to have these weekly meetups on Saturdays. You come and review my game, I review yours. Take back info from people. I'm also learning. And tomorrow we always make sure that I come with someone new the next time I show up. Even if you're doing online, I was like, yo, James, go get someone else who is interested. And then the way people, they also make people jealous. You know, hey, this guy seems to be really making good stuff and is getting the accolades based on this stuff. So once people see you out there, people will be keen on what you're doing. Because as humans are very curious. Yeah, so we want to know like what exactly is this guy doing that is different. So once they find out, now we tell them, you know what, get someone else and then we can make this happen. And then you never know who has the money. It's very important. You never know who has the money. Besides that's how to come focus. You see, so you can talk to someone and this guy has the money, but he doesn't know what to do with it. Of course people know what to do with money, it's just that they're saving it, but you can show them where the possibilities lie. Yeah? I don't know,
yeah, I think Roy has handled all the issues with regards to these tertiary institutions like ADMI, and he's Amanda of it. So one thing that I can say is, because this is a discussion, like in case, okay, there's ADMI, but in case you don't have the money to go to ADMI, what are you going to do? And that is such an issue because not everyone has money, and then there's always that barrier of entry, which is always money. Most of the time it's money. Even for us, like sometimes we want to get into certain doors and we can't get into certain conversations, but like you go for a conference, maybe it's like it's a creative economic conference, and there are very many VCs over there, but then they're telling you the ticket is 60,000. You need rent here. You know, so you're like going to rent
6,000.
Yeah.
I'm paying 6,000 for rent. For 10 months I have rent.
You know, so like sometimes it gets crazy. So for me, even the opportunity to be here, ni kujituma. Basically, using these platforms because content. There's a video that I saw from a famous entrepreneur in America. There are 5 things. So to be successful in business. So first of all, there's capital. Capital is of course the money. And then the second thing is content. Content is content creation. You know, community. And then the third thing is code. Code is automation. How you automate your processes to become more efficient and effective. So leveraging AI and things like that, or YouTube University. And then college. Yeah, and then now there's also collaboration. I've forgotten the 5th one, but the last one is collaboration. So how are you collaborating with the people around you? And the last one, it's collaboration community. Things like that. So even for us, like one thing that I'm seeing people are very aggressive about, I think 2025 is just different. I'm seeing a lot of gaming studios, people are now collaborating more, or people are putting out more content, or now even code, automation, using AI, like really use it, or even YouTube. Like majority of the game developers in Kenya, 90% are self-taught. Yes, we have ADMI, but majority, before even ADMI came through,
there was Chantal. Yeah, but Chantal was teaching animation. Okay.
Yeah, even my bro, okay, my brother is my co-founder. He studied software engineering, but he taught himself game design and game development. So like it's that, I think for Africa, in the US we call them unicorns. Here in Africa we are rhinos. You have to like really dig deep and really fight for what you believe in and the projects that you want to manifest. It's not bad to be a rhino, but it's just the environment. So you have to be tough. You have to have that grit. So like leverage those things. I think I've given you 4. Code, community, collaboration, content, capital.
Just one thing I was going to mention. One thing I just forgot is that I think also institutions should have some kind of open door policy. Like imagine now you have the skills, but you don't have the money, as you said. So how do you repay? Like I remember one time there was an institution that was supplying laptops, and they approached us as a university and they wanted, they're saying, we want your students who some cannot afford their laptops. Like once they come in, make it a requirement for them to have the laptop, and then they pay it throughout the year. And even after they finish the 4th year, they can even pay it into a job. So that now they pay for it like for 10 or 8 years. But of course, higher purchase tends to be higher. But the way they're paid so that they can just distribute their laptops and also have a lot of people with laptops within the institution. Because you see, sometimes institutions don't have equipment also. Like some of these public universities, yes, they can take, everyone wants to go to school. So you've gotten your A+, you want to go into university. University only has 30 computers. So you have to address that gap. So some of these open door policies can also help people who have Juakali ideas coming into institutions and then talk to the institution and tell them, I have this idea, I'm not learned, but I think it can work. And then now through the R&D, the research and development department, they can help them manifest this idea and now make the bucks. So the university gets back its money on investment, and then also the guy walks out with his cash. And then more people will come in, because now it's like, if James came in with his Juakali idea, what about me when I have some other idea? Yes, I'm not, but I'm not a game developer, maybe I'm doing, maybe I'm doing Tumba. So I want to gamify this situation. How do I also walk up in there? I'm not interested in learning, I just want my idea to be sold. And since the university has access to testers already, students, it has people already there, and there are people who are willing to take up these jobs at school before they actually go into the job market to get experience. Why not take advantage of that situation?
As we wind up, we're looking at another vision.
Oh, good.
And tunaona mingi sana Vision 2030. We are close. What does a thriving gaming ecosystem in Kenya look like in 2030, 5 years from now? Right. And how would it contribute to achieving national goals like Vision 2030? Because I know it has its different pillars, on a social pillar, economic pillar. Where do we see ourselves fitting into the vision?
All right. Based on that, one, 2030 I think it's 5 years from now, yeah? Yes. One of the challenges I think we also had this discussion earlier, James, is follow through. We never have follow through, we never follow up on things in Kenya. Like, we get distracted with a lot of things. Once it's news, and then tomorrow you see another breaking news there, some more breaking news, and then now you switch to that. There's never follow through, but people keep records. That's why people say they have receipts still. So the people who are doing that track record, the only challenge is that who exactly is a custodian? Where do we have these repositories? So first we have to look at where do we have our servers. Do we have a server in Africa? Like, you can imagine me playing this Valorant, this shooting game, first-person shooter. Our server is possibly in Dubai. By the time I'm trying to connect with that person, there's latency, there's breakages in the internet. So this guy is trying to signal me to there's an enemy in the corner, but now my game is lagging because my server, I don't have a server in Kenya. So now you can imagine if we had a server in Kenya already, that would help us. So that kind of stuff. The way I see it is that people will have to address these issues because people are now becoming more aware. And the way people are playing esports and that, like people are like, you know what, we have to push for servers. So where do we get the money? We have to rally our money from somewhere else and get this money. Then I see opportunities also, like people have been aware of these marginalized groups, like people with disabilities. So we have to create games around people who have these disabilities. How do you make them get involved with these spaces? Yeah, inclusivity, that's the thing, yeah. And then there's an issue like the way saying, also we have to create safe spaces for women, yeah. And then also women have to push themselves to the world, not be too shy. I might just create, like I've seen people creating groups within themselves where they're safer, like there's Afri Chicks. There are a lot of groups where they're creating their community and discussing serious issues like that. Because people, everyone likes games. Like you can, I'm sure you guys, you have access to matatus, once you're in a matatu. Actually, women play more games than than men, yeah? Like if you look at this game, Candy Crush, chicks play a lot of games, like, and they're the ones who make the broader market. But now, I'm sure there's some who are curious how these games are made. So now, if we create these opportunities, create even rural hubs for people, create awareness, that kind of thing can really help. And then, yeah, safe spaces. There needs to be education on some of the aspects of gaming. People have to be aware of this kind of thing. So in 2030, I think the future is bright for us. I believe it's bright for us. There's a lot of opportunities coming up. And then people have to break some of these cycles, like where they're afraid to be seen. You have to just come out of your box and say, yeah, I have an idea here and I want to share it with you. How can we make this happen? Yeah, you have to break the cycle.
As you still holding the microphone, would that be your parting shot, or do you have a parting shot that you would like to bless us with?
No, I don't think so. But I would say, yeah, just make yourself be happy. That's all. That's all I would say.
James.
Thank you. Roy makes it hard for me.
Why is it?
Just the genius. Okay. Vision 2030, 5 years. I think I would say more investment in our ecosystem. But even beyond that, if I look at investment right now, even globally, most investors don't want to. They hold their money. So actually, the main premise right now is, can you guys make money? And then we give you money. So having the mindset of you're good with it and you're good without it. Like just that state of mind, like we raise our consciousness of I'm good with it, I'm good without it. Where we don't have money, but how can we use our resources, the 4 C's which I've told you, content, collaboration, code, whatever, to raise our capacity and our competence to achieve something, at least a milestone. You know, our friends, our communities, and whatever. Kujituma and actually coming out of our comfort zone. I think even for the gaming industry, I think one thing that we really lack is marketing. We don't know how to market ourselves. Let me ask you, how many people know, outside of me and Roy, know a gaming studio in Kenya? Oh, you?
Yeah, I should say market, so yeah.
Yeah, okay, market knows. So like, if more young people can do that, not only even the young people, but even the older generation can be more interested into this, community of ours, then they can even have investment portfolios within us. Because I have an uncle. He wanted to invest and he heard what me and my co-founder were doing, and he was like, what if I give you 300K? Can I get it in 2 months? I was like, wow, bro.
2 months.
Hey, for 3 months, and I'm like, industry, see,
I give and take.
Give and take like that. It's not like that. So there's a lot of education that needs to happen about how this industry works.
And marketing itself is not easy.
Yeah.
Yes, marketing is a whole other budget. Like 45% already of your.
Yes. So people just need to understand, ask questions and understand how this market works. At least by 2030, people will be more conversant and aware of how this industry works, because there's a lot of money. I'm telling you, $200 billion was made last year worldwide. 200 billion. I don't know, that's how many in Kenya shillings?
Many zeros.
and I think Africa, the African market, we even have to be lumped up with NIA, Middle East, and we're not even scrapping 5%.
No, I think it was 16.4 billion.
16 point?
I think it was 16.4. Let me just see here.
Maybe that's mobile.
Yeah, mobile. Yeah, I'm talking about mobile.
That's mobile. That's 16.4 billion. I think in Africa we reached about 800 million and stuff like that, but all of that is going to these other studios. But then what if you're those guys like who are creating those amazing games? By 2030, we have a lot of cross-border, productions.
It was 1.8, sorry.
Oh.
1.8 billion.
Yeah. So like, we have cross-border, why are we only working in Kenya? Why can't we work with other Nigerians or South Africans or Egyptians? Kwanza, the thing is, Africa, we are separated from Africa.
North Africa.
Algeria, Morocco, and Egypt are the three markets. Just those three markets have beaten the rest of Africa. And it's because the money is circulating between Middle East and North Africa, and they're getting so much opportunities. So many conferences like JITEX and other ones which are happening in Egypt. And I just think that we should be open to collaborating with them, working with them, even working in those countries, knowing best practice. And then now we can now come to this country. And even the funny thing is, I've seen Algerians who've come to Kenya because they feel like, Kenya is the place to be because of mobile money and things like that. So yeah, more cross-border teamwork, productions, and bringing also these other functions like marketing, finance, legal. Immaculate to be easy on us when we ask for a contract. We do not give us heart attacks. Because she's in Angelo Kenyan. She supports the creative industry. So this barrier of entry sometimes. Acha tuongee.
No, but I think, alright, one thing I would say is that I like the way we have this opportunity here. One is because once everyone is able to see that there are people in this sector, their conversations can be had. And then the way you're saying cross-market, cross-platform, working together in collaboration. Once I show you the potential in what I'm doing, you can also create a market. Like, if at all a belt maker can understand they can make bags out of a character I have in my game, then they can create an opportunity for other people now who are selling the hides and that kind of stuff. So yeah, the awareness is there. I think I see a lot of potential. There's something I was forgetting, which is if you look at the market right now, the only challenge is people tend to think it's a quick investment scheme. Like I put in my money and get it quickly, I get it back quickly, which you can't blame them for. So the education I see a possibility where people now will be more aware of the procedures going into creating a game. So that now they understand how they can recoup their money, not immediately, but through a valid process. That's all. Yeah.
Maybe a valid parting shot, because we are going to. My parting shot is, in this entrepreneurship space, if you want to become an entrepreneur, a creator, have a vision, a clear vision. And when I say a clear vision, think about it every single day and make it so clear of who you want to become and the reality you want to live. And then once that becomes clear, ask yourself, how does this person think? How does this person feel? How does this person make decisions? And be that now. Be that now. And that is going to increase the probability of that reality coming. Because, and it's the hardest thing to do because we see with our eyes, and when you see with our eyes, you're like, life is hard, but you have to train your mind, you have to see with your mind. Your mind is focused on the vision.
So you live your dream.
Yeah, so live your dream, see with your eye, see with your mind, don't see, actually we see with our mind, and it's basically our perception. So, just step into that person right now, even the way we came to this platform, I can speak for me and Roy. Victor, the organizer, he was posting this in the African Gaming WhatsApp group, and it was just me and Roy who are just holding him accountable, we were poking him, and we found ourselves here. And it's because we see ourselves as, we might be just normal guys, but the way we see ourselves is at another high level. And of course, leverage all those forces that I told you, and you'll do great.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Roy. Has been insightful, guys. Very. Can we have a Q&A? Does anybody have a question or a comment?
John Henry Nyawalo is my name, the second actually. I have a question concerning esports. I find it very interesting, and I'm sorry, perhaps you mentioned it a bit and I didn't have a chance to get to hear about it a lot. But I found it very interesting that right now in the world, esports events are filling ceremonies more than actual sports. You know, like there was one a few years back where they hosted it in the NBA, in one of the NBA stadiums. Yes, and even the commenters were saying the NBA finals do not max out this area. Like these finals of, I think it was World of Warcraft, had maxed out the arena. And so I was thinking, first of all, how generally, what are your impressions about that in Kenya? Like, are we ready for such a scope of esports? Because I see it happening, but not to such a large area, to such a large. I mean, the cash prizes they were talking about in that event was just wild, you know, life-changing money, as you mentioned. And secondly, just on a light note, and because you're in the game development, I just wanted to know, to what is one, as a game developer or anyone working in the games field, what is your interaction with government to be like? What kind of help can you expect to receive? What kind of challenges in terms of licensing can you expect to see as you do that? And I appreciate the session.
So, esports is one of the largest contributions in terms of revenue to the gaming industry. And to be honest, Immaculate, I know you're a singer, but gaming is making the most money in the entertainment.
I know.
It is, and it's because of things like esports. It's just a few years ago, I think it was 4 years ago, it actually passed film and music. So that's why when you say things like, okay, esports is beating, in terms of the congregation audience, it's beating normal sports, it is. Because, especially because of COVID, home entertainment, a lot of people had to find alternative means of entertainment. So gaming just boomed from 2020. And now it's become very pronounced right now. And there's a lot of opportunity. What I can say is sponsorship. Because you see, to be able to earn that life-changing money, like those cash, incentives that they have, and people just, competing in the various games, Call of Duty or FIFA or Tekken, whatever it is, or Minecraft, it's about sponsorship. And these corporates understand. They understand esports. And what is it that they understand? They understand that this next generation is totally invested in gaming. It's totally invested in gaming, so we need to get their eyes. And also another demographic metric, I don't know if you'll agree with it, but it is what it is. Actually, our generation is more, in terms of purchasing power, we are much better than former generations. This young generation. Let me say Gen Z, late millennials. Let me say millennials to Gen Z. We have much more purchasing power than other generations. Globally, I'm not saying in Africa, globally. So now, these corporates are aware that if they have brand visibility within these spaces, then they can churn out money and brand loyalty and all those things. So now for Kenya or Africa, because by 2050 our population boom will be much more than the whole of the world. I think we'll be having, 80% of our youth will be under 35 years old.
We're already there, I think.
I think it will be even bigger, like 70. It's 70% by 2050.
Oh,
by 2050. So that's another opportunity. But if corporates are not aware of that, they don't see it, then I don't think esports will boom like that. And it's even happening in the UAE. They are very invested in esports, like, hey, those guys are so serious. And people are actually earning a lot. And it has so much supporting, it's not only the gamers, but even the caretakers, the event organizers, an MC, content creators. I think you've even seen these what are they called? Streamers. Like Kai and who's this? I Show Speed. Yeah. So those guys, right now, look at their brands. These guys have been called. I Show Speed is interacting with CG, Kina Ronaldo, and I don't know who. And they started as streamers for gaming. But now for us, right now at least, okay, Beast was here before. For him now, I would say in East Africa or generally Africa is on standing out, and it's possible. It's possible. So it's just more visibility on actually what's happening on the ground, and also best practice implementing it here.
I think you've covered most of it, because what I'll say is that I think you asked something about government, how they can come on board, yeah? Based mentioned one thing, one of during our sessions, like the way we have a discussion. So he mentioned that the government, I think it's in Saudi Arabia, they actually invested, one of the princes invested in, they want to build a whole city based on gaming and esports and that kind of thing. So where they're getting employment opportunities. So already, what on Jembo and Akazi, so the people who are selling even the food are also getting jobs. So I think we just have to wake up to the reality and see that the government also has to see that actually these things are actually paying our bills. Because you see also these things are also, this money will always be diversified. So this money that the government is making back can also be used now to supplement the health sector, the agri-tech sector. Because not everyone wants to do agriculture. Yeah? I mean, you want to do agriculture because you must eat, yes, but I also have other things I want to do, and that's game development, that kind of thing. For esports, I've seen people, as you said, like I Show Speed, he was even in WWE wrestling. It's not even relevant to what he's doing, but he's played the game as a streamer. So now he had to show up there and meet these guys in person. So that's an opportunity for him now to meet some of these individuals. And there's a lot of opportunities. I think the only challenge is people have to wake up to the fact that the world is actually shifted from what we used to have before. So now we have to change, the dynamic has shifted. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other question or comment on the side?
Thank you very much. My name is Brian Okoth. I'm a marketer and also a writer. First of all, the conversation really shed a light into my career. So my mind started to think on how I can equip my writing skills into gaming, and also to try to merge my marketing skills with gaming ideas, which that was so awesome for me. Thank you very much. So I have a question, and what is this? Maybe personal to Roy and James. What are you guys, in your own personal level, doing? Because I didn't have this much information. Most of my friends are university students, and most of the time they tend to spend their time just playing FIFA on their phone there, and they e-football, and they're not doing it in a way that I've gotten that information from here. Then they're doing it to pass time. Like, okay, most of the time that's what I observe. And I think they're doing that because of lack of information, lack of how game can be important in their life. So is there an avenue that you guys are maybe working on your personal brand to sell the agenda of the importance of game, not just people wasting time playing games?
Also, I'd say if guys show up like for events, basically, they'll see us there. Social media, the way I'm trying myself, I'm trying to learn the analytics better, like what social media advertising takes. So I possibly set aside a budget, especially the way I'm doing it also. I diversify myself. I also do stickers and buttons based on the characters, the ones I design basically. I do t-shirts. And then also try to incorporate some kind of AR inside it. so that when you scan the photo is manipulated, is playing some kind of video sorts. So that's how I advertise. I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, depending on how they say, like, yeah, okay, in some way it's a waste of, because also sometimes I'm guilty of playing games beyond the time I'm meant to. But I'll say, I think the Bible also says when people suffer for lack of information. So now you look at it this way, you can imagine if this individual was, instead of just, it's called doom scrolling on the phone. Sometimes you have to take time and look at these adverts. Some of these advertisements actually have info that you need. And then I also think desperation creates character sometimes. If you're really happy for this, you always have to stay happy. If you're really happy for information, you'll actually find it. But if you decide to just doom scroll, then it also lies in your ability to disseminate between what's bullshit and what's actual information you can use. Because there are a lot of video games, people have realized games with advertisement and the like. The only challenge for me personally, what I do is the budget is not that huge. So what I do, I try every 3 months, I try and reinvest in my company in one way or another. Because you see, I'm alone. And then during the day, I told you I work in a university. So at uni, I also try and take advantage of the students I have within the university. I need them being there. I tell them, like, I have a game, I have this platform. Could you help me test out this game and tell me, is it something you can play, or do I just scrap it off and start afresh? Because some will tell you these ideas, I've seen them before. It's like you're just copying someone else's idea and trying to do whatever you've seen. So yeah, it's not easy. It's never easy. And then another thing I used to do when I especially when I was doing t-shirts, now that's not about games, I would go into a matatu and then sneak a sticker there. So the sticker. That's free advertising. So that's what I used to do. Katuko matatu hivi naona jamaa ameangalia kwa vitu pambao unaendelea. Sasa nikishuka iko pale. So every time I come naangalia I mark that matatu, I'm like matatu tunaelekea hiyo sticker. Ametoa naipiga kwingine. Napiga ingine tena, okay, that's kidogo defacing, but that's what I used to do, like a graffiti artist. Kidogo na kwa mauru. Just get in there in people's faces. You have to be in people's faces for them to be aware of what you're doing. Yeah. And then also give free stuff. Free stuff is what people like free stuff. Yeah, come on, I enjoy imagine by yourself. So if you give me free stuff, I'll do this stuff. And then that's how you advertise through your game. Like in the game, if I download it for free, inside the game, people see an advert, that's how I make my revenue. That kind of stuff, yeah.
Bidding on free stuff, important. So even for us, when we go for conventions, like Nikon, we normally give incentives. You end up what you want to make money. Like I remember we had, okay, it's okay, make money. I was told that they also have a money mindset, but also young person to come ni sawa, because you're paying for the cost for marketing. Like I remember the first convention I did, I had shirts, printed shirts, 30 shirts. It cost 550 shillings. And I wanted to sell them at 600, but everyone refused to buy a shirt. It's branded with our game on it. They wanted to buy it at 150. So I just, in my mind, I'm like, okay, 150, but I was like, just make it 200. And I sold it at 200, and guys went with it, and now they're working with it. They're staying in the house on Saturdays, they're using it as pajamas. And that's brand visibility. I don't know, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's brand visibility. People will ask, what is that? What is that? What game is that? And somebody will tell you your brand story. But with regard to how we put ourselves out there and make your friends about knowing this opportunity in gaming. For me, I started this last year. I think I've slowed down a bit, but we're trying to pick it up again is through podcasting, talking about the gaming industry. There are lots of people who are doing amazing things. We talked, Roy even highlighted, there's this studio called Mekan Games. They have this game called Mr. President. It's basically depicting Trump. And it was when Trump, his first term, they created it at that time. And he created that idea because at that time, Putin, Trump, the president of South Korea, they were just doing weird things. and Macron, the French president, and he got that idea. And Uzuri now he had a publisher, and they really marketed it for him in the US. Actually, that was the marketing. He marketed the gaming, and he got about, I think, 10 million downloads and like $1 million USD from it. Of course, trickling down, Illustrator was the publishing and all those costs. But you know, showcasing people like those success stories, or the first video I showed here, like this Luanda game, or the Hero game, or the Masai Warrior. It's from Kuta Content. The founder is called Dean. He's done amazing things. He's now crowdfunding, and even the funding he's gotten from around Africa, it's really inspiring. So, you know, just showcasing our story. Even yesterday, there's a studio which is called Asili Entertainment. They're collaborating with another called Urban Games. So basically, it's a collaboration where they're gonna be using urban tone music in gaming. I can't talk about it much because I signed an NDA, but I'll keep it to that. So yeah, but they made the
partnership
yesterday. They made it public yesterday. So yeah, that's what I'm doing: podcasting and also events like this. You guys, by the way, leverage LinkedIn. I know people see LinkedIn as, you know, now this platform. You know, people are showing off. Oh, I'm happy to announce I got this job. I'm happy to announce I moved to this country. You know, and then you feel bad, like, hey, me go happy. You know, but for me, what I said is, it's how you focus. In this world, it's duality, and it's about your perception. So if you focus on the negative, that's the only thing that you'll see. It will be your reality. But if you focus on the positive, you're like, now I want to make this thing work for me. So even for you, we talked about you in marketing. I can tell you, and writing. I can refer you, because right now I can even refer you to somebody, Wendy Daki, she's one of the best video game, Wendy, Wendi Daki. She's done a lot of journalism in the gaming industry, and now she's been able to work for various companies in the gaming industry around Africa, like in GIA, that's Game Industry Africa, which do a lot of reporting, and like the best, let me say, media company talking about gaming. And like, she has a wealth of knowledge. She's always getting.
She's also done promoted games.
Promoted games.
Promoted games is in Chile.
Yeah, in Chile, and she's always getting like funded tickets to fly to South Africa, to Nigeria, to, you know, North Africa, because of her writing. She's the only writer.
And then she's the only.
You see, so like in this, if you come into this industry now, unajituma, trust me, but you have to be patient. With time, you will stand out. Yeah.
I just remembered something. When we actually did finance journalism, I think, I forget, but she did something in finance, and then we met through a program called Enter Africa, and then she saw the opportunities in games, and started writing on her blog, just for fun. And then she was approached by, I think, Doug one time. She started writing for Doug. That was Ludic Games, Ludic Works. After writing for Ludic Works, that's when some other people noticed her. She started writing for free. And then after a while, you know, through consultancy, she came to some of us and her friends were like, yo, this light bill cannot be paid through osmosis. I'm like, yeah, of course. So figure out a way. So she's like, you know what, I'm quitting. So she quit writing for free, then she started writing for free. And that way she started getting paid. Now I think she's pivoted into doing podcasts, where she's hosting game developers from South Africa or whatever. People are talking about their journeys, talking about the devlogs, the opportunities they have gotten and missed. Everything people are talking about, no. So there's always an opportunity for writers. It's just that now you have to, as Nini, what do you call it, James said, you have to step into your dream and say, you know what, I'm a writer now, officially I'm a writer writing this. Yes, they'll laugh, people won't write. You remember the way you're saying about, like, sometimes people don't like whatever you're doing, but eventually once I see people relating and there's a culture behind it, I'll also adapt to it and say, you know what, I want to be a part of this scheme or this program, and I also want this incentive. Well, then I was going to tell you, another thing we did with one of our games, the free pleasantries, is like the way there's Bitcoin mining. So one time we in our game we did something with ZBD. ZBD is a fintech company. I think it's I forget where it is. I think it's in Slovakia. Then some of the CEOs are also in the US. So what we did with our game, every time you failed in the game, you had to create an account. Okay, there's an option. You can either play offline or you can also play through ZBD so that you can mine some Bitcoin. So you created a wallet on ZBD, the platform, and then you mine for Bitcoin for a while through playing the game. You play, then once you invest the coins to a significant amount, you can always switch to a Bitcoin because Bitcoin is very expensive. So that kind of thing, that's what we also did. So you have to pivot and create opportunities for people in that one way or another.
Last one, 10 seconds. Understand the value chain. In addition to you, let's say you're focusing, like you're focused on a niche, like what you want to write about, but also understand the value chain. You see him, he's talked about Bitcoin blockchain. Understand also the other value chains like AI, or even how other sectors interplay with gaming, like film, music, or these things. That way to make you a thought leader who can speak across. Maybe you're not a specialist, you can have your specialization, but your understanding of something a bit surface level of something here, it will make you stand out.
I have a question concerning music writing. I heard she's a songwriter. So my question is, like, let's say in Kenya, we have very good musicians, but their music, their songs are really entertaining, but the writing of the song is so poor. So what if I say, how can I, let's say I can write many songs and really good songs. I also do music production. So my question goes to her, since I heard she's a songwriter, so how do you market yourself as a songwriter? How can you reach those big artists maybe and write for them?
Can I just, what thing, you said you're a producer. There are things called beat tapes. SoundCloud is there. So you create a whole concept behind your production. Let's say you're focusing on Bruce Lee's statement, it will be like water. If water becomes in a cup, it stays in a cup, it becomes a cup. If it sees a rock, it goes through the rock, it becomes snow. So basically what it means is that the reality right now is that you don't have a market for your stuff, right? For the music. So you have to make it free. Yeah? I'm not saying it's cheaper, it's cheap, but you have to buy CDs. You are told that right now there's no need for CDs, but you can do it on a platform. SoundCloud is free. Create a concept behind your production. Let's say like be like water. Maybe you're just taking Bruce Lee's terminology. People who relate to Bruce Lee will listen to the beats and say, this guy sampled Bruce Lee's samples. And the way you're playing the music, someone will listen like, oh, he has mixed this around. Like they will time also did with their beats. They're taking karate flicks, karate movies, those sounds that those guys make when they're hitting the opponent. And then they mix it up with hip hop beats, and then people could relate. So people who are enthusiasts, or people who participate, people who partake in martial arts could relate to the beats. So create a concept behind it, make it for free. Maybe a few, even Bandcamp is free, there are platforms like Bandcamp. And then once you create a beat tape, or create a mixtape through artists who relate to you, who want to record that don't have the platform, you just make it for free. Once people are related to the music through the concept, you will become a buzzword. And then make your music available even for YouTube for free, so that people can use it for their soundtracks. Yeah, I think it goes under Creative Commons, so that you don't sue them because you create a problem and then your name, Salimio, of course. So once you create a buzz around yourself, then people will say, you know what, I see a value in you, what do you need? No. And then of course on the side you say like, so it's strictly business, but there's also stuff that you're giving for free so that people can relate to it. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, maybe Margaret, you can go ahead.
What I'll say is this, our industry is still growing, so we don't have, like he said, a market for songwriting or music. What I would suggest is, because you're a producer who has resources already, So if you can get an artist who's a friend to sing the music you've written, produce that music, like he said, put it on your YouTube, your Apple, your Bandcamp, your Spotify, your SoundCloud, and then, you know, have a way of packaging your name as a songwriter with the credits in the descriptions, in the watermarks on those videos written by so and so. So as you're going for the bigger artists, you might have to go first for the smaller ones first, so that now jina yanze kujulikana. So maybe you can't go for Kelomax, you can go for Immaculate. You know, I'm not as big as him, but I need music because I need your songs because I can't write my music all the time. I'd suggest that, but also there are platforms where you can actually hold yourself out as a songwriter. So there's Fiverr, Nikama Junior ya Creatives. So you can put your name there and say, I'm a songwriter. Of course, they'll ask you for a proof of concept. What songs are you currently writing? Who are you currently writing for? So your friends who are right now singers, the artists who produce with you, give them the music to sing. It might be a free game before you start earning from it. Because the end goal could now be becoming a songwriter professionally or signing what is called a publishing deal with the Universals or the Boomplays to now write music for these particular artists. Yeah.
Alright, so I just need people to be in threes. It's simple. Let's start maybe with me, Margaret, James, and myself. Yeah? It's a simple game, even 3 people. So if Immaculate goes 1, I go 2, then James goes 3. And then once he goes 3, he starts 1. Then I go 2, then she goes 3. Once she goes 3, she goes 1, 2, 3. Understand? So whoever finishes with 3 has to go 1. But then you're picking up the pace. What happens in real life is something that happens once you're doing it. Okay, let's just do a test. Maybe you can see what's happening. Yeah. So if I go 1, okay, when you start from here.
1,
1, 2,
3,
then you 2,
3, 1,
2,
3, 1,
2,
3, 1.
2.
3, 1.
So, but now you pick up the pace. As you're picking up the pace, you realize, well, and that's what games are about. It's about recognition that you have to create awareness within yourself. And that's how games have a value chain. In a game loop, you have the action, the feedback, and then the reward. That way, in a loop. So that's what happens. So that's what we're doing is a loop right now. So once at some point we start okay, you have failed the game. So we have to start afresh. And then each time someone fails, now the other person has to start with 1. So it's interchanging. So do you want to go at another time?
The person who says 3 also says 1.
Yes, so then it comes back this way. It's just around the center, but sometimes that's how it works. Yeah. You want to have a people, then we go picking up the pace. No. Hapa tu. Sisi alafu nyinyi mtajaribu tu hapo. So let's just try.
1,
2,
3, 1,
2,
3, 1,
2,
3, 1,
2,
3, 1,
2,
3, 1.
2,
3, 1.
2. Okay, now you see. Yeah, but it's just a way of creating a loop. That's how games are made. I'm just trying to show you guys games are simple things, but now the complexity comes in the rewarding system, the feedback, that kind of stuff. Yes, repetition, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's it. That's just a simple game.
Thank you. Thank you. Round of applause for our panelists, guys. Thank you so much, Roy. Thank you, James. These are guys, please talk to them, network with them, hound them as talk about, get a number, do something. They are very approachable, like you can see. Thank you, guys.
Even Immaculate.